Hi folks, Gene Basler, Sugar Land, Texas, and I'm in the parking lot of a shopping center. Young trees in parking lots have different pruning needs and general care needs from residential trees or campus trees or trees on larger properties or with more real estate in their root zones. This is a little gem magnolia. It's actually a pretty suitable type of tree for a parking lot island, or in this case parking lot peninsula. They can grow quite rapidly. They can have very extensive root systems, but I've also seen them fairly tolerant of a restricted root zone and not complain too much about being root bound. They make so bold as to suggest that the soil's super poor here, super compacted. It's going to need, more than likely need, sulfur to bring the pH down. And if it's on irrigation, it's going to get false oleander scale. They're going to get algal leaf spot. This is the Chinese or lacebark elm or drake elm. That's pretty common in parking lots. They're not really the best choice because of their diffuse growth habit. So here they are branching out 5 feet above grade and in perpetual need of being pruned off of parking spaces in the avenues. Here in Houston, the pin oak, Quercus palustris, doesn't grow, but in northern states it's used in parking lots a lot. And if you can account for the root-bound nature of their cultural setting, then apically dominant growth habit is better in the long run because you have a lower maintenance tree. Savannah hollies generally have a good Christmas tree shaped growth habit, and they generally tend not to interfere with the infrastructure too much. Bald cypresses, I'm not in love with them, but they are generally tolerant of wet feet, which irrigation systems are happy to provide. But they get pretty darn big, and they do so in fairly short amount of time compared to some other trees. These Chinese or lacebark elms blow over very easily in high winds, not just here in Sugar Land, but everywhere where they grow. They get propped back up, usually to very little effect. Pay no attention to the Bradford pears behind the curtain. Not my favorite, but if you work it into your management plan to rip out the root-bound death by self-boa constrictor Bradford pears every few years, and you know about it, and you know that you're going to have to replace some Bradford pears once in a while, then by all means plant them. These young trees, generally speaking, they don't hire a professional arborist to conduct structural pruning. They just let the landscapers get what they can reach. That's been done to these trees too. There's no reason, given this site, this is a low traffic area, that these live oaks couldn't have been allowed to droop low. In fact, it would have added considerable character. And that's a funny thing about live oaks. They don't need to be 300 years old to have character or to provide a certain look to a landscape. But to limb them up, as they say, and cause them all to look like gumdrops or vases, it really kind of defeats the purpose of planting a live oak, because these guys are all, by the way, what I would consider to be much closer together than they should have been planted. But you can see that the only work that's been done to them has been what can be reached with a pole, and a lot of structural pruning is overdue on some of these trees. Just take a look at this thin crown. I won't go into why this live oak is not as thick as this one, and on down the line some are thicker than others, some are denser, some have considerably longer nodal growth, some are just a plain old bird's nest. And if a live oak is this thin, even in January, something's not right. Something is acting upon it to cause it to be thinner than its neighbors. Matter of fact, I read a recent study from Central Texas where they were studying leafcutter ants and their habit of perennially attacking the exact same live oak specimen, ignoring the other live oaks around it. And year after year going after the same one. I bring that up because we recently found leafcutter ants on a live oak not too far from where I'm at right now. Back to this tree. But I digress. This is a structure that could have been corrected when it was younger. You have this tight V crotch here with the bark inclusion. One of those could have been removed long ago. Encouraging a straighter growth habit. The same could be said of this tree. And this tree right here. Let's take a close look at this V crotch. Safety is one of the most important things in a parking lot or a shopping center. And while these trees aren't directly over the parking lot, they still pose a risk. I wouldn't say it's a great risk, but I would consider, you know, putting some hardware in some of these trees. Usually it's not written into the contract to come back and remove the hardware from planting. And I draw your attention to this is a garden hose on a lace bark elm. And it is completely ingrown into the tree. That's not only a structural defect, but it has a negative impact on the plant health as well. I've heard various theories as to why it's fatter uphill of the girdling offending party and narrower on the bottom. Theories or explanations like carbohydrate, tissue stored, can't go all the way down. Xylem goes up fine, but phloem doesn't come back down as well, and different stuff to try to explain that. And also, of course, why is there weed eater damage when there's you know, a good tree ring. Parking lot trees in general require a more strategic approach. Good time of year to prune them, by the way. Questions, comments? Feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for tuning in.